All right, class. Well, it is another week in our Graduate Research and Design class. And this week is February 27th through March 4th on single subject experimental research. So one thing I wanted to do is to remind you that there are going to be, well, not remind you, tell you there are going to be online office hours Wednesday, March 1st from 11:30 to 1. We had some success with the last one, had a few students come in and ask some questions and so forth. So this is not a lecture session, it's just a session that I'm there online, and you can click on this link to access it, and then you can chat or you can use your microphone to ask questions, so that if you have any questions about things going on in the course, you can go to that session. So that's a good thing to have, and I found that to be useful as students take advantage of it. This week you'll be reading Chapter 11 on single subject experimental research, and then also completing the quiz on that chapter as well. And then there is a research design discussion. So you're going to look at the chapters that we've talked about so far. So far we are finishing out this week, and it's kind of a nice break for spring break next week, but we're finishing out our quantitative research methods. And so we're going to move into qualitative methods after spring break, which is next week. So that's the finishing of the quantitative methods means it's a good time to talk about them. You know, is there any one of these that might be a research design of interest? And yes, I'm going to try to pigeonhole you or push you into one of these types of research. If you choose quantitative, it's going to be one of these 5 types and nothing more. So that means, you know, you probably don't want to plan on doing both qualitative and quantitative. In other words, you don't want to run a survey and have interviews afterward to explain the survey. That's a good research method, you know, to do. It's good to follow up a survey with interview components, but that would make it mixed methods, and that's a little bit more confusing to work with on your first research project. And so I'm trying to make you just choose one, not qualitative and quantitative, but just one, either qualitative or quantitative method. And if you do choose quantitative, then it's one of these. Is it survey research, correlational research, causal comparative experimental research, or single subject experimental research? And causal comparative should probably say research on there. In fact, I'll go ahead and add that in. So it's continuously like the other ones. So yeah, talk about any of these that are interest. What are you contemplating doing for your study? In a few weeks, you'll have a design participants and procedures assignment due, and you'll have to plan which one of these you want to have for your research proposal that you create in this class. So those are the activities for this week. The research activity has been postponed just a little bit. With some of the things that I need to do. I need to talk to our Mike Miller elementary teachers on Wednesday and give them some information about this study. And then after that, I can have the bulk of you who are going to be required to interview somebody do that interview after that point. But I need to talk to them first, give them kind of a overview of what the research study is about and what they can expect to have happen to them. So that's upcoming, and I'll give you more information after Wednesday about what to do for that research activity. So I've moved the due date for that back to March 18th. That gives us a couple more weeks here to complete the research activity. And of course, it's flexible anyway. There may be teachers that you contact. You might be assigned to contact one teacher, and that's each of you will only be assigned to contact one teacher. But your teacher might be kind of busy right now, and they might not have much time, and so it might take a little bit longer than that, but I'm hoping to get them wrapped up if we can pretty quick once I give you the assignment. For the proposal description that I'll be grading today, hopefully, I won't be grading the literature review section, so I won't be really looking at that since you should have gotten feedback from me on that already. But be sure to be working on incorporating any improvements I suggested to your literature review already in preparation for the final literature review. So be working on that. Yeah, thinking ahead a little bit and moving toward the final review. Hopefully you're also reading an article or two here and there to make sure that you add those sources of information to your study and to your final literature review that will be part of your study. And then finally, I just wanted to give a brief intro to single subject experimental research. It's a very strange kind of way of thinking about research in a lot of ways, because it's single subject, meaning that we do the research study on a single person. But if you think about it, there are some ways or some situations in which this can be very useful. For instance, if you have a student in an educational setting who has a real disability, and that disability causes lots of hardships for that person and for their teacher, and you might try an intervention out on that single person and do that research study for that one person, and if it does improve things for that person, well, then you've made a difference, right? It's like the starfish analogy where you throw the starfish out in the sea, and you at least made a difference for that one. So that's the idea with single subject experimental research, really, is working with one person and trying to improve things for a small group or one person. So you'll read about that this week. And again, like I said, that will round out our quantitative research methods. As you go forward, you're going to think about what method you want to use. You want to be in depth on that method. You want to make sure that you include some very detailed information in your research proposal, which will be due later, on that one method. So if it's survey, you'll want to look into that chapter a little bit more on survey research and think about all the different things you need to know and consider when you develop or implement a survey research study, so that when you do your proposal, you'll have those things in mind. Or if it's experimental research, you want to take a look at what type of experimental research you want to do and be able to name the type from the book and how it fits into your study and how each element would work out. So that's just a warning and something to think about. All right, well, have a great week and good luck.